15% of my data is Cholula.
15% of my data is. I tried to stop.
Bingo!
Let's go!
What is happening?
Wait, okay, we have a new play that we just ran. This is ultimate inside baseball, but like we're specifically
Wait,
game
ultimate
planning.
or baseball?
But now we just had an entire practice of everyone on the sideline yelling, "Bingo! Bingo!" And the whole time I was just like, this is really surreal right now because this is very much what I
The
hear.
merging of your two worlds.
Yeah, I was like, stop pressing the button.
Bingo.
I just couldn't stop hearing it.
That's so funny.
It's my worlds are colliding.
It's hilarious.
What is up, people of the internet? Welcome back to another episode of the Waveform podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Marquez.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm tired.
And Tired is here.
Oh, hi, Tired. Nice to meet you.
I just got off a plane. So, yeah.
That's totally fair. Well, we've got a lot to talk about, so I hope you're ready for it. And it's kind of a nice, fun grab bag of stuff. We have Pixel 8 Final Thoughts, 8 and 8 Pro. Also, Meta Quest 3 is in the house. The video is not up yet, but we have some thoughts. And if you want to, we can go over all kinds of the thoughts we have on that.
But
also,
the Pixel 8 video is up.
The Pixel 8 video is up, so definitely watch that if you haven't already. And then David has some stuff on the Adobe Max conference that he went to earlier this week. Is that where you were flying?
Yes.
Okay.
I went
Where
there
was
for
that?
24 hours.
One day.
Los Angeles.
One day in LA.
Yeah.
That's a fun one.
Yeah.
So you're not jet lagged technically,
No.
but you're tired.
Yeah.
Fair.
I'm okay.
Okay. We're good.
I'll make it.
It's going to be great.
Just
good.
stay awake till the end of the episode
I
where
feel
you
better
explain.
than I anticipated. I'll just say that.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. But first, I just want to highlight a fun Twitter poll that I posted a couple days ago where sometimes I post Twitter polls and I kind of think that I know how it's going to shake out, but sometimes I'm surprised a little bit. And this one I was very surprised by. I put it in Slack and I was just trying to see if people would guess before they clicked it what they thought the results would be.
Yeah.
So I tweeted, would you take a self-driving taxi / Uber? No context about like the state of it now versus how much better it might get later. Just like, would you take one? And the results, I want you to just think about this if you're listening to the podcast right now. What do you think people would say? Would you take a self-driving Uber, yes or no? 55 yes, 45 no. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Mostly because there's two ways to think about the answer to that, which is one, do you like the idea of a self-driving car? Which a lot of people were like, yeah, I really have had too many bad experiences with Ubers, lots of horror stories about, can I stop at my house for a second? Can I?
Yeah.
I just need to pick up a package or meet my friend somewhere, and you're in the back of someone's car. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
People just like the idea of that never happening again, and a self-driving car solves that. But the other version of the question is, given how good the tech is now, would you currently ride in a self-driving car, or maybe wait till it's actually a little bit better and autonomous vehicles are like fully as good as a human? And I think that's another answer for a lot of people.
I think this could splinter for sure because there's the self-driving taxis that are going through San Francisco right now, which is a small-ish metropolitan area. San Francisco is only 7 by 7 square miles, so there's not a lot of space to cover. But if you're in like Los Angeles area where everything's a highway, like none of the self-driving cars in San Francisco are going 70 miles per hour on the highway.
Right.
That's a different story.
There's still like
In some
so
ways-
many variables, though.
Yeah, some might say that's easier.
I would be more afraid to take a self-driving car on the freeway.
I would be less afraid.
Really?
Well,
Based on what I've seen about self-driving technologies, the highway, which is just laned line markers, is typically the easiest thing to do. And then the more variables you add, like slowing down and adding bicyclists and pedestrians and people walking and kids running into the street, which doesn't usually happen on a highway, that's when it gets tricky. So I feel like I'd be more likely to trust it on a highway.
Yeah.
counterpoint, you'll be fine when it hits a pedestrian.
Well, I guess I just don't want to be in a car where anything weird happens.
I think also LA highway traffic is basically just
Stop and go.
letting it roll. So like that might be the safest out of everything.
Yeah.
And then you don't have some creepy Uber guy trying to talk to you the entire time. So
Yeah.
there's a benefit. I don't know, but I feel like I agree with you on this. Feels like who answered this question, I'm looking forward to it, or I don't trust it right now. I answered not trusting it right now.
Right. And I think a lot of people answer this thinking, do you like the idea of a self-driving car? Because I think if I ask, and this is also, I'm polling my audience, so it's a lot of tech-forward people, that's going to skew it as well. But I think if you just polled like a bunch of average people, you get a lot more no's.
Okay, so can we go over? Did everyone here answer this poll?
Yes.
Can we take a really quick poll of the pot? See what everyone answered
Out
and
of
why they
5.
answered real quick.
Yeah, we can get a percentage.
So what'd you answer?
I
David?
answered yes. I remember when I sold my Subaru when I was in California, I said, I'm not going to buy another car until they're all self-driving.
Wow.
Which didn't happen because I needed to buy a car. But it's kind of self-driving, but not really. But either way, I've had like this magical image of self-driving cars in my head for a very long time. And I like the idea of just sort of being driven around autonomously. Because if I could drive to work and like sleep more or read or something like that, that'd be fun.
That'd be dope.
Yeah, do some work.
So let's say right now you just landed you were going to the Adobe conference and 2 taxis or Ubers showed up at the airport, one with a driver, one that's self-driving. Which one would you have gotten in? Same price, same everything?
Feel like if they are using it for consumers, it's got to be safe enough that I'm not going to get hurt. Because otherwise, it's just a complete PR nightmare. Like from what I've heard, like they've had the ability to do general safe driving for a while, and like NVIDIA has shown off their technology, and Tesla's shown off their technology, and Qualcomm, like every single developer conference ever, they show off their self-driving technology for the last 10 years. But nobody wants to be first, because if you're first and you kill someone, you destroy the entire industry, but mostly yourself.
Yeah, I think that mentality works for this because especially with self-driving cars, they have to be so much safer that they're comfortable putting it on the streets.
And even though they're safer than human drivers, as soon as one thing happens, it all gets thrown on the fact that it's self-driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it still has like so I answered no because I feel like right now I can loop off of what you're saying though is like I think like in general in a lot of ways it's probably safer than most drivers, but I still don't know, and I know it has at least a decade of information it's gathered, but there are just still so many variables you don't know what's coming on in these like all these different road like scenarios out there. Like isn't there that one highway in San Francisco where the line was painted kind of weird and there were like 5 or 6 Teslas crashed in the same like couple months?
And they literally
because
repainted it because
they repainted. This was further back, like just to be clear, this is much further back, but there's just stuff that then happens. I don't know enough about where I'm driving, if I'm picking up a taxi or an Uber. I don't think I would feel, and especially because in self-driving cars right now, there's a person behind the steering wheel that it can be like, whoa, you take over, I don't got this. If it's a taxi or an Uber, that's just an empty ass seat right there, and I'm not jumping forward and doing it. Like I don't think I've got the trust on that yet.
It's crazy that as a society, we're like, instead of just laying down a few train tracks, let's try to recreate
We've got
the
a whole
human
nother
brain, but stronger and better at driving.
That's a whole nother topic.
We will climb to biology's greatest achievements and surpass them instead of like bus stop.
Men will literally simulate consciousness before going to therapy.
Before literally just building a train.
Yeah. Okay. So you said no.
Yes, I said no. Ella said train as the third option.
What did you actually say, Alice?
I probably would not. Like if a self-driving car pulled up to this office to take me somewhere in today, right now.
Man.
No.
I'm out of touch with the
I've been in
man.
I've done it already.
Yeah.
Driven it or been out of touch?
No, I've been in. We did the self-driving Yandex pre-mapped route in Vegas.
Oh right.
So I was in the back seat of a 10-minute ride with nobody in the driver's seat, and I would do it again.
If you are driving from this office, and if I accidentally dox us, tell me to stop. But when you're driving from this office to New York City, when you get on the freeway, there's this really tricky maneuver where you have to get on a bridge and you're merging into a lane that's sort of coming from your back.
The one that I've
The
almost
fast
been
lane
hit
also.
at.
Exactly.
I've almost been hit by that like 20 times.
What would a self-driving... There's no way the car can see backwards around a blind circle.
So
all it has is a yield sign.
Yeah. So here's what it does. This is the biggest downside I've seen with these out in the world self-driving cars. The number one problem with human drivers is they're too aggressive and they will often crash. The number one problem with these self-driving cars is they sit at the yield sign and wait for 40 minutes until there's a big enough gap for them to go, and they will hold up traffic for a mile behind them because of it.
Yeah.
And that's a That's annoying from the passenger seat, but it's technically safer.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest difference I found. If you read a lot of the headlines in San Francisco, it's like, it's not that these cars are mowing through intersections or whatever. It's just that people like, they come up to like a stop sign with like a car too far in an intersection, and then they just freeze and don't do anything. And then they cause traffic to be held up for like the entire day.
I care about my
awful.
image just as much as I care about my physical body. So I don't want to be the guy that everyone's pointing and laughing at why my
While you're in the
self-driving taxi can't figure out why there's a basketball in the road and just stops for an hour.
It's more likely, yeah.
But no, yeah. I still think the biggest thing here is that the difference between a self-driving taxi, Uber, and its current self-driving is a person in the front seat and not a person in the front seat. And taking over.
Yeah.
I think even just the taking over part scares me. If that couldn't happen, I don't think I want to be the guy in the backseat when that happens.
The one Waymo, is it Waymo? Yeah, the one Waymo that got in that really bad accident had a human driver that was supposed to take over, but he didn't.
Yeah.
So
and that's also a lot. That's why I say it's psychological. It's because it's basically like, how good does the tech get and how much do you trust it?
Yeah.
You just put Tesla bot in there.
Well, then do you trust Tesla bot? Jeez.
Tesla bot is the redundant like takeover if something's a problem.
It's like we just need a button to stop. Like we have the robot and we just have the big red button. We just need to be sitting in the back seat with a button just like ready to press it at any point.
Yeah.
That's kind of all I need.
Would you get in a self-driving airplane for a cross-country flight?
Yeah.
That pretty much happens.
Airplanes are already basically.
Yeah, but but no pilot in there to do anything.
Yes, 100%.
I don't know enough about how much pilots do.
I probably
I know
don't
a lot
know
about
enough.
how we drive, but I don't know enough about what pilots are for.
I could be more. I could be convinced. I don't know. Anyways, Adam, what is your thought process on this?
In its current state, I would not do it. I could see it getting there in the future, and I'll do it. I also did a BMW self-driving demo in Vegas.
Yeah, for a CS.
And that was terrifying.
It was,
And
yeah.
it was like...
But
Like
exhilarating.
everything at CES.
yeah.
I got more exhilaration than terror.
Well, yeah, because you were like, am I going to die? I don't know. Who
I
knows?
enjoyed that.
So it was a fun experience. But then thinking about like if an Uber just pulled up right now to take me home and there's no one in the front seat.
Take me home to.
Not a
Don't you
chance.
feel like if it's like publicly accessible and on the road and gonna pick you up, that it's safe enough to take you home?
No.
I guess
we have
not-
many things that are on the road right now that are not safe.
Like people.
Like the Hummer EV.
Well, yeah, like the Hummer.
It's a great point. But yeah, there is an element of like, are we being beta tested on? Like sometimes there are real technologies that are
San
out.
Francisco, yeah.
Yeah, in the world where I'm like, just because it's out doesn't mean it's good. They're absolutely racing to be first, and I don't want to use this just because
Totally.
it's out. And I think it interestingly with the self-driving cars, it doesn't feel that way. It feels like they could have been out a while ago and probably been just as good as they are now, but they have to be so sure
careful.
that they're really careful to not ruin everything with one mistake, that they probably are even safer than you think.
It's kind of like how Tesla takes the heat with all the negative press that electric cars get.
Yeah.
Right? Like anytime anything happens to a Tesla,
Every car fire.
yeah, every car fire. Yeah, I mean, there's a million car fires, but anytime it's a Tesla, the headlines are Tesla catches fire, and it's like,
Yeah.
I do think we'll see more EVs just in that light in
Probably,
general. Now that there's
probably.
more of them.
yeah,
Yeah.
Big oil.
I just want to throw one more idea out there. Maybe let this idea marinate in your brains. I don't think people are unsafe. I think cars are just inherently unsafe. Like
That
as
is
a concept.
tricky. That is tricky.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Just throwing that out there.
I feel like the only problem with posing that question is it makes it feel like all people are safe, where like there are plenty of people.
No, there are plenty of drivers I hope to never encounter on the road.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong.
I just want to clarify
But
that.
I think
But it's not fun unless it's a one or the other.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
context.
Cars are, it's not that they're unsafe, it's that the way that we drive them around right now is unsafe. Like if you flip the switch tomorrow and every car became a self-driving car, I think that would be a lot more safe.
yeah.
Than
If,
a
That's
mix,
if every car
if
could
every
be
car
a
was a
self-driving car, it would be way more safe.
versus a mix
Exactly.
of people and
Absolutely.
self-driving
That's the
cars.
real challenge.
Yeah.
I was just on another podcast talking about this. I'm not going to spoil it too much, but the idea of every car being a self-driving car, I'm
5G.
pretty sure we've also talked to Neil deGrasse Tyson about this, possibly. But you can picture like a superhighway of just cars going 100 miles an hour, and they all talk to each other, and they all can like immediately make moves, all computer controlled, and just like get you as fast and as safe as possible to your location. But there's no way to get to that future without getting through all the complexities of some cars are self-driving and some are 10 years old, and they're humans, and you can't get there without going through it.
Ironically, this analogy is like the Windows versus Mac analogy, or the Android versus iOS analogy, mostly Windows versus Mac.
I'm listening.
Because so Windows has to be like backwards compatible with a ton of enterprise software, right? And and government software and all this stuff. So none of it, you can't really like switch to a whole new development platform and be like, everyone has to change. But Apple can literally be like, if you don't update your app to support this or like be based on this, we will just take you off the App Store.
Yeah.
So you can't take every car and be like, you have to retrofit your car.
We'll take
to
you
have
off
this
the road.
5G thing so it can talk to all the other.
Fair.
Yeah, but I do love the theoretical where every single car is a self-driving car, because you can literally like not have roads and just have like one big plane, and everything's just weaving through each other at like 150 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Seems pretty sweet.
What?
Yeah.
Where would the buildings go? You can't just have one big plane.
You could, and the buildings are on the perimeter.
That sounds like a terrible place to live. A big ring of buildings filled with a autonomous car deathmatch. Like,
Hypothetical, okay?
what are you talking about?
The point I'm making is that you don't have to have everything go like straight or sideways. It can just kind of, they can weave between each other without slowing down at all.
I hear that.
Theoretically.
Theoretically.
Yeah. But we've also built lots of roads already.
Yes.
So we kind of just
We
kinda
don't
just,
need
like,
any more.
Yeah.
aim to fit the roads we've built.
Yeah.
Also, David, this is America.
Also, Marquez hasn't given us his answer on this yet.
I would take a self-driving Uber.
Okay, well, no one cares.
I mean, you knew my answer already.
Wait,
I kind of
Shocker.
do. But you didn't say it, and I didn't want to skip
okay.
Five of us,
Yeah.
so it's 40-60. Me and Marquez versus all you
Interesting.
freaks. Little freaks.
Okay.
See you on the perimeter of the plane.
Mad Max over here.
Okay, wait. I did also post something else to Twitter that I thought was interesting.
I'm super interested in finding out more about this.
So I posted an entire video to X. I guess I could call it X.
Twitter.
To Twitter. I posted a whole video on Twitter.
Formerly known as Twitter.
I put the entire Pixel Can You Trust Google video in its entirety on Twitter. Now, in the past, I've done like all these fun, interesting things where like you post a clip from the video and then link to the full video, or you post a short. We've done all that in the past. This time I just posted the entire video. And as of today, if you were to believe the numbers on Twitter that are public facing, which don't, but if you were to believe that, if you were to believe that, then this is the most viewed piece of content that I have ever made. Ever. On any platform. Stop. It's not. Stop. It's not.
I'll never take anything away from our LG Wing.
Our LG Wing
TikTok. Greatest
had
video ever.
35 million views or something like that. This video is less than a week old on X and has 38.3 million views
There's like 29 million in like the first 24 hours.
in like the first 24 hours. The thing though about that number is it's not views. It's just impressions. It's just how many times it appeared on your timeline. And the reason I know this is because I'm going to screen share this so you can see it in the video version of the podcast. If you open up the analytics of the person who posted it and look at the numbers, it says impressions, which as you expand, it says the number of times this post was seen on X.
And just before you get to that, the new feature that they added on Twitter was a views number.
Yeah.
That shows a thing, but when you hover it, it says views. But you say when you click it, it says impressions.
So on a post, like if you just tweet some text, that number, you could argue is the number of times it's been seen. And so however you want to phrase that in the timeline, is that impressions, is that views? Like what do people think that is? If I post it and someone is just flipping through their For You page or their timeline and it flies by, technically, is that a view? I guess so.
It's an impression.
But it's an impression. Like that's what the ad agencies would all call an impression. It showed up on your screen once and had the opportunity to be viewed or consumed or engaged with in some way. That's an impression.
And I'll give some credit here is that on Twitter, it is very hard to distinguish for just at least a text, like a regular text tweet, who, if it got scrolled by and read, or
you have no
if
idea.
it just like, or if it did get read, because if you're not clicking on it, which half the time I'm on Twitter, I'm not clicking on things.
Yeah.
It is tough to tell that.
Here's a good way of understanding this. YouTube does tell you views and impressions. This same video that I posted on YouTube has about 2 million views. If you go look at impressions, which on YouTube, you know what an impression is, it's this showed up somewhere in a recommended, on a home page, in a sub box, in a notification. How many times did it just show up on someone's screen? That's impressions. And this had about 20 million impressions on YouTube. But it has 2 million views. And if you go down to the video metrics for Twitter, I'm just going to keep calling it Twitter, it has 6 million unique views. If I scroll down even more, however, there is an audience retention graph. And I use the word graph lightly, but it is a 9-minute
So does
video.
Apple.
Yeah. It's a 9-minute video. And the retention graph shows that by 2 minutes and 20 seconds into the video, what percentage of people do you think were still watching? You've pictured like the retention graph, like a 50% average view duration is pretty good on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you get to the end with still 40% of people watching, pretty good video.
Is this
2
like
minutes into a 9-minute video, how many people do you think?
2%.
It's exactly 2%.
Is it really?
2%.
I'm a god.
Bingo.
Let's go.
And so
Wow.
if 2% of people are still watching by 2 minutes,
Yeah. That's not really a
do you
view.
consider it a view? I mean, it's 2 minutes. It's not 2 seconds.
Is
So I
there
guess they
anything
viewed it.
like, okay, YouTube's isn't fully clear, but we estimate it's anywhere between 3 to 30 seconds, right?
Yes, but YouTube is way more information. They give you a graph
Yeah.
of like
Yeah, you
a little more
see-
retention, a little
Totally.
less, and you can fast
But
forward
like,
and
what
find
counts
spots.
as an actual view on YouTube?
But in
They'll never
general,
tell.
you're
They'll never
clicking on that usually too, right? I guess I don't know how autoplay is working exactly, but
Yeah, if I
But you could click on something and then immediately hit back before it goes to like 3 seconds. you
yeah,
know?
that's up to YouTube.
Or close the
YouTube,
tab.
YouTube to prevent gaming the system will never explicitly define a view. I'm sure there's many parameters that will define a view, but I think like between us, if someone watches 2 seconds of a 10-minute video, don't count that. That's not a view, right? If people got to 2 minutes, then they're watching the video.
Yeah.
2% of people got that far. So 2% of the 6 million views got that far.
What is that metric on YouTube? Do you have it?
Got to 2 minutes?
Yeah.
I will open up that right now. Also, I should have published the Pixel review 9 minutes ago.
oh no,
thought
it's you just might as well hold on to it.
Yeah, no, I'm going to
Save
find the
it for
analytic
next
and
year.
then publish it. So, okay, analytics, and I'll go into Reach.
You know what's crazy? 12 minutes ago, I was like, oh, in 3 minutes we need to do that. I'll make sure to make sure to remind Marquez.
2 minutes into the video on YouTube, 63% of people were still watching.
Wow.
So there's a big
Vastly
difference. Okay, 1 second.
Well-
I'm going to publish the Pixel
While
review.
you're doing that, I'm just going to say what I think.
Perfect.
I think the funniest part about this, though, is just how you hover on the initial post and it says views. Then you click in and then it recalls it impressions instead and calls something else views. And then unique views and then shows the retention graph, which the graph is very funny because like it's hard to without a visual. So for audio listeners, rather than just a straight line graph, where you can see like every single second within the video. Is that what a line graph is, right?
Yeah.
It's a bar graph where it says like 0 minutes with a big thing and then says 2 minutes where it's really small again. And then like increments of 2 minutes. So you can't tell if all of those were on there for 1 second or 2 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's insanely hard to tell what's
They just
actually
need to take
going
a
on in
Riemann
that.
sum so they can actually understand that.
A what?
A Riemann sum.
I don't know what that is.
It's the let me define it.
Boo! Get dunked on. Riemann sum is how you find an integral with
Yeah.
trapezoids under a curve.
That's what I meant.
Trapezoids?
No, it's rectangles actually.
I wanted to find the actual
Wow, everyone was wrong.
Yeah, it's
Well,
the
I'm
area.
just glad I pretended
it's
not
how
to
you
know.
find the area of trapezoids under a curve.
Oh, get dunked on again.
Trapezoids.
It's rectangles.
Yeah, rectangles. But those are rectangles. That's bar graph.
but huge
I
rectangles.
still don't understand it.
It's way too big of rectangles is the point. The difference between
Can you show
didn't-
David the graph? It's very
Yeah, yeah.
funny.
So the difference between didn't make it to 2 seconds and didn't make it to 2 minutes and 20 seconds
It's just
is
insane.
you cannot tell on the graph because it's all in one rectangle.
just look like one bar.
Yeah, you can't tell.
So
Ouch.
while you're pulling that up, let's just say maybe we wanted to make this segment into a short. How would you wrap up what you think about Twitter video views and posting on the Twitter
Take
platform?
the Riemann sum and ask.
Here's the graph.
Wow. Hello.
100% of people got to 0
Watch until
minutes.
0 minutes. That's helpful information.
2%.
2%.
And then it goes 1, 1, 0.
0 people finished it.
0% finished.
Oh, so probably just below. I mean, between 0 and 1%.
Doesn't even show up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can't even.
That's brutal.
That's
So-
probably because you're the only one to ever post a video that long on X.
No, you know what? To be fair, Elon has been like encouraging everyone to do it because he wants to believe that the future of content is also on X. And so this is literally just me trying it with
He
this
also
video.
retweeted
He
it,
retweeted
right?
it.
He
as well.
retweeted it, and he retweets lots of other people who post content on X. That's, I'm sure,
Especially new
exciting
features.
for him.
Especially they use new features like
Yeah.
long threads and all that kind of
So,
stuff.
like, yeah, it has 38 million views because someone with 100 million followers tweeted about it. So, yeah, it's just going to blip on lots of people's timelines. But, like, this just reminds us all of what happened with Facebook not that many years ago, where they decided, creators, Facebook video is the future.
Oh, God.
You want to be on our platform. Matter of fact, look at how many views you're getting
Yeah.
on all your content. And then advertisers went, whoa, wait a minute. Look at how many views are over here. I
totally
think it's
forgot
time to
about this.
spend. And
I
they
just
all
got
went to
so
go.
triggered.
I know. They all went to go
remember.
spend. And then they all found out that those weren't views. And here we are.
Oh, I totally forgot about
When
the
just
whole
they turned
thing.
that was when they turned on autoplay and just a million videos showed up on your feed.
That was
and
like 2016, 2017, right?
I want to say like
Peak
17,
BuzzFeed
18.
era.
Yeah.
Wow. They
So-
were pushing it so hard back then.
So we're going through the same thing now.
For sure.
It is what it is.
So you're quitting YouTube.
No,
Why? You got 30 million
I
views.
did, but I know that
officially
that's
a tweeter.
only impressions, and that's also because of a couple big retweets. So I'm gonna go with still working on it, still working out the bugs,
Full-time Xer right now.
still working out the bugs. We should talk about the Pixel a little bit more. We should take a quick break though before we do that, but I'm sure we'll have some thoughts on that, some thoughts on the Quest 3, and some more on Adobe. So before that break, let's do a little trivia.
Okay.
Trivia. Okay. First question.
Sick.
We were talking about Uber a little bit ago.
Uber.
Uber. Travis Kalanick and Garrett Camp founded Uber in 2009.
Oh, I thought that
I
was the
remember
Taylor Swift guy.
No, that's someone, dude.
How dare you? Can he get a minus point? Travis Kelsey.
Kelsey.
King Travis Kelsey.
Oh my God. Okay. But
My
Camp
king.
is also the co-founder of another popular app / search engine. What was it? If you want a hint, the logo was an orange SU.
Like the
SU.
letters,
Like the
SU?
letters SU. It was very popular back in the day.
Back in the day? What counts as back?
I feel like all the
Like
old
10 years
search
ago.
engines now are just like clickbait gallery websites. Like really bad news websites.
I'm just trying. I'm thinking of all the search engines I've ever had.
yeah, I don't.
Remember Alta Vista?
Yeah, baby. I lived on Alta Vista Drive for a bit.
So it is technically a search engine as well, but don't get hung up on that.
Is
It's
Ask
more of
Jeeves
a-
an
I used
AI
it
yet?
more of an app. Like, I thought of it as an app,
It should be, right?
but it is a search engine.
An app?
Yeah, it was an app. It was a Chrome extension. It was a website.
That's a tough one. We'll think on it.
It's a wigwam. It's a TP.
We'll figure it out, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Let's talk about the Pixels. We can finally talk about them. We've been using the Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro here at the studio for a little bit now. The review is up. Our thoughts are live. You haven't watched the whole video yet, Andrew? Actually, nobody here has.
I only saw the intro because Brendan and I brainstormed it for a while,
was
but I
Okay.
wasn't able to help.
So you had a little bit of my thoughts based on my direction on where the video would go, but now we can talk about everything Pixel. I'm going to give my high level version of this, which is I'm thoroughly enjoying using the phone, and I think it's finally feeling like a flagship, especially because of the new display. And then there's just a whole bunch of googly stuff all throughout this phone that the more I use them, the more I get used to them and miss them in other phones. And some of those are just like the photo features and the like fixing it in post stuff. Some of them are just like call screens, useful, like just classic Google stuff. I like the lock screen and Material U, blah, blah. And there's a ton of that stuff. But I think it really finally feels, and this is the 8 Pro that I'm mostly using, it finally feels full on flagship, and I'm happy about that. Very, very bright screen.
Yeah.
Love that.
Super Actua.
Super Actua display, 2400 nits on that bad boy. It's every bit of that too. I have gotten good battery life, I'm happy to say.
Me too.
So I've gotten, between my normal days of using it in the past week, like 6 to 8 hours of proper screen on time, which is a good battery life on a smartphone on this 5,000 milliamp hour battery. So that's great on the Pro. The cameras are pretty good. I think video shows more improvement than photos. I
Definitely.
think photos look all right. They kind of have a little bit more watercolory tendency and a little bit more over HDR tendency sometimes, which I've noticed. But they are big new displays. And video, I shot the whole autofocus video on the Corvette. Super detailed, sharp, maybe over sharpened, but very, very good video.
The color is great.
Awesome color.
The dual exposure pixels are what make the video better.
Yeah.
So
autofocus is fast. It's accurate.
Yeah.
It's been reliable for me. I keep flipping it back and forth between the car and myself, and like this is why I shoot the autofocus videos on a phone, is so I get that experience with it. The microphones are not as good, and I think I was trying to use some of the audio eraser features to get rid of the wind in the background, and there's only so much you can do. It did okay with that, but I really like these phones. This is probably what's going to be staying in my pocket. I do have some more phones to test this year, so I can't speak this prematurely, but I really like the phone.
yeah.
Yeah. So some of the more interesting things that people were asking about that I think are worth diving into a little bit more are, one, what is a photo? Who knows? I don't know. Is it real? Is any of this real?
Nothing's real.
And then two, is Tensor G3 meaningfully different from our complaints with Tensor in the past?
Kind of.
I would say, yeah, kind of. Especially because I've had, now I don't know how long it's going to last, but I've had pretty good battery life, and I think that a lot of that is because of Tensor.
Yeah.
Software optimization, of course, will play a part. Android 14 has been breathing new life into phones after they fix all the bugs. I'm happy to say that. But I don't think it's that much of a difference otherwise. It's not like some super mega powerful new chip. They're more focused on TPU and AI features, and they've got a lot of that going. I think a lot of the crazy stuff with this phone is just all the crazy camera stuff they're doing with the software editing and the Magic Eraser and Magic Editor and Audio Eraser and endless features about like manipulating your photos as soon as you take them.
If they released all of these camera features on the Pixel 7 and 7 Pro as a feature drop, it would be insane. It
would be awesome.
like a whole new phone.
It'd be pretty sick. One thing I want to say about like the whole lineup of phones is like they move the prices up this year. Each phone is more expensive. The Pixel 8 is 120 hertz now. It's gotten its upgrade with new TPU, new cameras and all that, but it is now $700 to start. And then this is now $900 to start, so they just bumped them both up. I honestly think
$1,000.
Yeah,
$1,000,
$999.
sorry,
So,
$999 to start.
Yeah.
I still think the Pixel 8, now that we've used them, is a good phone for the price. I still believe that.
Yeah.
And I think it's harder than ever to justify the 8 Pro. And you can see Google even trying to justify the 8 Pro by artificially gating some features to just Pro.
Yeah, a lot of
even though
software
they're the same
features.
computer. I mean, it's extra RAM, but it's the same Tensor G3
Yeah.
and the same primary camera and the same selfie camera, but only one of them gets Pro mode, the Pro.
Yeah.
Only
Yeah.
one of them
The
can
manual focus
actually take 50 megapixel photos, the Pro.
Yeah.
Only one of them gets the generative fill auto magic eraser.
Yeah.
That's the Pro.
Wait,
Later this year.
Yeah, the RAWs are 12 megapixel on the regular one too, which is
Everything.
weird because I think the Pixel 6, the RAW on the regular Pixel 6 non-Pro was the full 48.
The full 48. It's weird.
which is the generative fill magic eraser?
So you have
Different-
regular magic eraser on Pixel already, on Pixel 7
Yeah,
and
yeah,
8.
okay.
But there's a new improved generative fill magic eraser.
Yeah.
where
just
you
for
can
the
like
Pro.
select things to.
It works
fill,
the
or
exact
it's
same
just-
way. It's just the quality of what it fills in is better.
Yeah, they used to do in painting and now they do generative fill.
Okay.
Yeah. That's weird. Yeah,
Why are you gating that? That's
I don't know. I imagine Google always eventually just moves this stuff to
Exactly.
Google Photos, and I think they will because there's sort of this trend in the tech industry right now where everyone's trying to get you to use more storage so that they can sell you storage in the cloud.
Oh, really? Interesting.
yeah.
I don't know if I've picked up on that.
Oh, yeah.
You think they're
Everyone's
for-
doing it.
okay? Because Apple
long-
just gave us high resolution by default, but it was only 1.5 times the file size. It wasn't like double the file size per photo.
Well, but think about this though. Like, if that's another way to gate you into an ecosystem. If you use OneDrive and then Microsoft makes you have like way more files and the files get bigger, you have to buy more storage, and then it's even harder to move to another cloud storage solution. So everyone's sort of trying to make you do that and then pushing you towards the higher and higher tiers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, Google used to give you free photo storage, unlimited,
Yeah.
and now they don't anymore. I know that was a long time ago, and obviously, like, things are getting file sizes are getting bigger. But sorry, my Google went off. Karma hit real hard right there.
You got yourself. You played yourself.
But yeah, like file sizes are getting bigger, but like storage is also getting cheaper. Except we're the ones paying for more storage size, and they're not. But yeah, I just wanted like an anecdote from this weekend. I was doing I went out with some family, and there was a couple cousins that all have kids, and I mentioned the face swap feature when we were trying to take a group photo with all of the kids, and every single one of them was like, "What phone does that? Wow. What is that?
Wow.
Oh my God, that would be amazing." Wow. So I think for the masses, that feature is going to hit real hard.
I want to go through each of the crazy camera features and explain how well they actually work now that we've used them. Because we saw the commercials, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's different from the commercials.
Now they're actually out. So the one you're describing, which is called Best Take, works
Face swap is so
very
much
well.
better.
I think I called it Top Shot at one point. Like
it
you
used
could
to be
call it a bunch of
okay, that's what it was called.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's called Best Take. But what happens is it sees your gallery has a burst of photos of the same group of people, and it goes, there's like 9 of these here. Any one of them you can pick as the base photo, go into edit. So pick the one where you like the body positions of people, go into edit, and then hit Best Take, and then it will go find all the other copies of people's faces and literally give you a selector for the faces for those people. And it works very well at merging people's like face and neck to like match.
Unless you zoom in really tight, you can't tell that it's been edited.
Genuinely 99 out of 100 quality edit. Like really, really good.
It makes sense because you can only do it within a burst photo of things, right?
That's
so
how
like
it finds
It's
them.
not just a burst. You can take like one photo, wait a couple seconds, take another, wait a couple seconds.
So yeah, I guess I'm thinking burst, so like not much movement can happen, but as long as it's in the same general area, scene.
Yep.
Okay, so there could be plenty of movement, and it's still
There could be plenty
of
movement, but the shadows are generally the same. Like you're not moving your location.
Yeah. Okay, that's
Have
awesome.
we tested how far apart those pictures need to be for this to work?
Yeah, we should push it to.
Yeah, let's make 2 people in the studio sit in the same spot for 24 hours and take pictures
we should
between them.
add a bunch of shadow in one photo and then make it really bright in the other photo and see if it will still
merge on the
swap
bright
it
face.
so it looks weird. Yeah,
We might have to play with this a little more.
Yeah.
But just, that
works
one feature,
really well.
amazingly well.
That's why the ads are all about that.
Yeah. So then you have, I'll do audio eraser next. This is the one where they gave the example of like pointing it at like a street musician, but there was like a siren in the background and you could just like erase the siren while keeping the street musician. And I think that exact example would probably work really well because the frequencies of a cello being really low and the frequencies of an ambulance being really high can actually be probably separated a little easier than my example, which was basically wind just like distorting and peaking the mic.
Yeah.
And that was really hard to remove. And I think I should expect that to be hard to remove. Yeah. So there's going to be situations where it works well and situations where it doesn't work well. Sometimes it will legitimately save your video from some weird random seagull noise in the background. Sometimes it will not be able to fix your video. So it's like a 50-50 for me.
I had low expectations for that one. And I felt like in that sense, it was more of a like, I captured this random moment. I'm not looking to turn this into a video or like put actual real production and editing behind it. But I just like am sad that I tried to get some sort of noise and there's another noise blocking it.
Yeah.
And maybe I can salvage enough of it so when I'm trying to like show this moment to people, you can understand what's happening.
Also, interesting note, and this is a little bit of sneak peek, but we're going to talk about later in the podcast. But Adobe also just announced an audio eraser feature in Premiere, and it does the analyzing thing, but it's just a slider. You can't break like the pixel will break it apart into like this is wind noise, this is animal noise, this is this noise. You can't do that in the Adobe one. But
I suspect so. I'm very curious about that.
Yeah,
Google's UI is amazing for
really
this.
good,
It's a feature that I don't think a lot of people are going to like dig in and find that often, but if they do,
it's kinda hard to find it.
It is really cool. Just like going, oh, noise, delete.
Yeah.
Wind, delete.
Yeah.
Animal noise, We'll leave it. No,
Yeah.
you know what? Delete it.
And
Like
it's
you
got
can
a
do all
slider
that.
too, so you can leave it a little bit in if you want it to feel like more
Sure.
organic. Because sometimes if you slide something all the way down, it puts a compressor on it and it makes the voice sound really
weird.
like compressed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I give that 5 out of 10. Works okay.
yeah,
Magic Eraser still works really well. It's still pretty good at recognizing objects. Magic Editor is the crazy one.
Yeah.
It's funny because you go in to edit a photo and it's like all black and white UI, and then it's like this colorful, glowing rainbow button in the corner that's
Yeah.
like, click
Please
me.
use me.
I'm over here.
Yeah,
So you click it, and it opens this whole new UI, and there is definitely some latency to this where it's like, all right, you're going to make a big edit here, and it's going to take a few seconds to generate some new versions and then spit them out. But basically, you select something with your hands and then do something to it, whether it's moving it, growing it, shrinking it, changing the sky, changing the atmosphere, all these features, and then you hit go, and it takes some time and then generates like 4 versions of hopefully fixing your problem.
yeah. This one's incredibly silly to be gated. Wait, is this gated?
No, this one
is not
works.
gated.
This one's across the board. Magic Eraser.
Good.
And
Magic Editor.
Magic Editor, sorry.
Right.
The thing that I found interesting is there were some examples in the commercial that we talked about on last week's podcast that I was very curious about. You remember the kid on the bench with the balloons where they move them to the middle and it like generates the rest of the bench and the balloons?
Yeah.
So I just downloaded that picture and tried it.
Really?
And it didn't quite get it. Like it added some of the balloons back, but the bench it didn't really figure out very well. Like it was like a C- edit. Like if I saw that, I'd be like, oh, you messed up the edit. Like it's very visibly bad. But there are some other things where it was just like perfect.
Yeah.
And you could just move like objects around the frame. I moved a car around the frame. I moved all kinds of things. But then the other thing about the commercial is they're like moving people around.
Yeah.
And I think they moved the one kid like higher over the basket to like make it look like he was dunking. I took some pictures. I have some pictures on my gallery of like me jumping, and I said, let me try that. And I highlighted me and tried to move me. Almost every single time I try to move me, it wouldn't do it. It refused.
Oh, yeah.
And it gave me an error that said, this may
Violates.
violate the Gen AI terms
Yeah.
for Google.
I tried it on Tim's tongue and it did the same thing.
Man.
I don't,
Wait,
I don't know that.
I
But
was gonna say, like, have you ever seen the videos where people will like take a picture of their significant other and like edit their eyes just like a little bit further apart and say like, "Oh, you look so great in this picture I just took of you," and they'll be like, "Is that what I look like?" I was like, "This is Magic Editor is the way to just troll all of your friends," but
for sure.
I
The
guess
funny
not.
thing about this too is because it's Gen AI, it's different every time.
Right.
So you could take the same image and try it multiple times and it's going to give you different results.
Like
So you-
Dolly.
Yeah, like Dolly. So you just kind of have to like keep playing with it.
Wait, when you say different results, not only that the results are different, but also the potentially skirting around like what it will. So
Yeah.
like if you're trying to
Yeah.
move Marquez to jump higher and it says it might be like
another
in
photo-
violation,
Yeah.
another photo of Marquez jumping
Could
might
be not
work.
in
Right.
violation.
That
Yeah.
sounds totally
It's
like
it's
it
pretty
works
weird.
perfect.
I tried a bunch of photos. It seemed like the number one way to get it to trip for me was to try to just move me far in the photo, like laterally or higher. It would freak out and not do it. So I would just like select myself and move me. But I can move all kinds of objects and other stuff, and it would be totally fine.
What if you select everything around you? What if you color in the
made it
entire thing
Instead of making
around
it
you
big,
and push it
make everything
down?
else small.
Okay, so it didn't work with that. But what I will say is I did find a picture in my gallery with a watermark, and I selected everything around the watermark and hit erase, and it perfectly erased the watermark. And that's just not against their Gen AI terms, apparently. Totally fine.
That's crazy.
Heaven forbid you jump higher. But you want to steal some artwork?
Yeah.
I got you.
It's a fascinating feature.
I have a feeling it like doesn't like skin or just things that could be manipulated in a weird way. That's like I wanted Tim's tongue to be really long.
But it's funny because
So-
in the commercial, they're moving people around.
Yeah.
Like
That is a good
several
point.
of the
I
examples are
don't know
moving
what they
people.
did for you. I don't know.
I tried a bunch of photos of people. I was like, oh, that's funny. I can lie about how high I jump in photos. And then I tried a bunch of photos of me jumping, and none of them it would let me.
It's so weird.
But it would let me move the frisbee. It would let me move like the background in a tree and erase the people behind me. But that tripped it a lot for some reason.
There's also a new feature that they never talked about called camouflage in the Magic I
saw that.
Eraser Magic Editor thing.
Yeah.
And it just takes all of the color out of the thing that you highlight. I'm not sure why it just makes it black and white.
Did we try more of it? Like we were
I
trying
tried
it the
a
other
bunch
day
of
with
times.
okay, because when we were trying with Brandon, we were all just confused to the point where we thought we were doing
It's
it
like
wrong.
reverse color pop, basically.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you want to color pop this photo rather than selecting what you
color
do
set.
want to color pop.
Yeah.
How about you select everything you don't want to have color?
So
instead
maybe
of
there's
one
like
thing?
something that's too hard to delete and it would look weird. So you're trying
But
to.
then if you just turn it
you're
black
like-
and white,
If you're like taking an artsy photo and like everything is like yellow and blue, but there's like one kind of annoying thing that's like red, you could just like desaturate it so that the colors still look nice.
but then that's black and white in like a totally color photo.
Yeah, sometimes
It
you wouldn't
feels-
notice though.
I'd like to see an example of
If
somebody
it just
who's
turned
used
gray,
this well.
like what if my shoes were like yellow, so I just turned them like black and white, and shoes could totally be black and white in a normal circumstance.
Yeah.
Maybe
It's interesting.
I still think it would look
It's a
black
weird
and white.
feature.
Yeah,
it's like
it seems
right
weird.
next to Magic Eraser in the settings.
Yeah.
It's just
It's
as
like a
prominent, and that's just weird considering it's such
Yeah.
a minor feature. But
It is strange.
yeah,
But yeah, that's the I give Magic Editor like a 6 out of 10 for the times it works, and then
Yeah.
the 0 out of 10 for the times it says it won't do it.
Yeah.
But I also think it's Google, and there's got to be some sort of limits. So
Yeah.
I'm sure people are going to try way crazier things than I tried with lying in photos. So it's probably
Yeah.
good that there's some boundaries on it. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
yeah.
that's the story of the Pixel. Fix it in post.
The video quality is way better.
Yeah.
My understanding of this is effectively this is kind of like how they do HDR. So usually when you do HDR, you're stacking frames and then you just take the average color of each pixel in that frame, so you get rid of the noise because noise is random. In this one, you're taking like a high gain and then a low gain pixel and stacking the pixels. And so if one has more noise than the other, then it averages it out.
High gain and low gain meaning high and low sensitivity.
Sensitivity,
So if one peaks in high gain but doesn't peak in low gain, that's kind of like HDR
average-
as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of HDR, something that we didn't mention, these now support Ultra HDR.
Yeah. I read a really good Android Police. We should have a link to this article about like explaining Ultra HDR, and I guess it's coming soon because we haven't been able to test.
Because
I've
what
seen
is
it
it?
on my phone?
So I've seen HDR, but I don't know if it's the new Ultra HDR, which is like baked into JPEG. If that
Yeah.
I can share it.
I can show it to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll share the article below,
Yeah.
but essentially it's like a very compatible file format that's not just tone mapping and blasting certain pixels, but it's actually just like it's not HDR when it's not on an HDR monitor, and it is HDR when it is on an HDR monitor.
Yeah.
Which is pretty sweet. That's like the biggest issue with HDR is most people don't have an HDR monitor yet. So
Yeah.
I was happy to see that
The fact that you can see it on your
working.
Pixel is cool. And
Yeah.
you can see it just when you take photos on the Pixel. If you take a photo of like a bright area,
Yeah.
if you look at that photo, it kind of, you're like, is that area that's
props.
really bright?
Yeah. HDR is crazy sometimes. I'll be on like a totally dim web page, like scrolling, and then an HDR image comes up and it's like, all right, this pixel, full brightness. Like
Yeah.
we're cranking it right now.
Yeah,
HDR
totally.
is really sketchy sometimes. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that compatibility is at least being focused on.
Yeah. I think it only works with the rear camera. But yeah,
Okay.
it is kind of like things are very bright.
There's also a temperature sensor on the Pro.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
Huge.
How many times have you used it?
I have not used it a single time other than filming it. So that tells
Nice.
you how much I care
Perfect.
about it. But
Perfect.
it measures the temperature of things. So,
Oh,
yeah.
that's what that did.
Yeah,
Wait,
just
it has a
random objects.
thermometer on it?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
What
New
is
new
that?
thermometer app too.
What is
It's
that?
pretty cool. I'll end, I guess, with some of my biggest downsides of the Pixel this time around with this Pixel 8 generation. Number one, I will say, is fingerprint reader did not improve, and it's fine. But in the world of a bunch of other $900 phones with much better, much faster, and more reliable in different conditions ultrasonic fingerprint readers, this one being the same size and still being optical, like they couldn't pull off the software magic to make this one better. It still needs the extra second
It
to
needs
get
that.
it
But
red.
the software magic that they did pull off was AI in the front-facing camera to enable face unlock in banking apps and stuff.
Which is awesome.
That's really nice.
So that's two contrasting things. One, they were like, we don't need extra hardware. We don't need infrared. We'll just do more with software to get more information here.
Yeah.
And with the ultrasonic fingerprint reader, they were like, sorry.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Classic
So that's
Google.
that's a
Doing
slight bummer.
software.
The back material, I think, is actually really good. It doesn't really show as many fingerprints
It
as
looks
I would
really
think.
nice.
Like
It
for a
feels
matte
awesome.
black phone, I would expect more. But I was bummed that there weren't more color options this year. The only really colorful one is blue.
Yeah.
It's funny because in some lights at an angle, this almost looks like a really dark blue. And I was like,
Yeah,
that would
it
be
does, actually.
sick. But
Yeah.
I mean, matte black's nice,
This
but a
porcelain
really
looks
dark
nice,
blue would
too.
look nice. That does look really
Yeah,
good.
it's kind of just like dark gray or light gray. Like, what do you want? Like the sage? Is that the other
They're
one?
camouflaged.
Greenish one.
Yeah,
It's like
sage.
They're
a
camouflage.
little bit green. Camouflage.
Camouflage.
It's basically gray.
It's gray.
So that's basically my that's my two downsides. Like, there's
Yeah.
not that much bad about this phone, so
Yeah.
I'm happy.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's solid. I still consistently miss the Pixel Fold when I'm using it, though, personally. I just like the size.
That is interesting because I came from the Pixel Fold,
Yeah.
and this is straight to the Pro. It's a much bigger screen.
Yeah.
But I also felt like I was using the Pixel Fold mostly closed.
Yeah.
And so I got really used to the smaller aspect ratio, and now I just have like a huge canvas now.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is great.
Oh.
I'm
Good
happy with
thing.
it. It's a good
I
thing.
like really want to go to the Pixel 8, but I do like the small Zenfone size. But
the Pixel 8 is a little smaller than the Pixel
Yeah.
7.
Yeah.
6.2
I'm
instead
probably
of
going to ask one of you
6.3.
guys to
Yeah.
use yours for like a day or
How
two.
big is the Zenfone screen? I want to say that's like 6.1.
Smaller than an iPhone mini. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Zenfone 10 display diagonal.
5.9 inches.
Oh wow, 5.9. So 5.9 to 6.3.
It's just a little baby.
Yeah, it's
It don't got
wait. That
any
doesn't look
money.
that crazy though.
That actually
This is
doesn't
the
look
8
that
Pro. This is 6.7. So imagine 6.3. It's not that much bigger than your phone.
Yeah.
I might have to steal the 8 review
I'll let
for
you
a
play
little
with
bit.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's Pixel. Do we want to take a quick break and then do Meta and Adobe? Is that what
Yeah.
we should? That's what we should do.
Sure.
So I think before that quick break, what should we do? Let's see. 1, 2, carry the one.
Always taking strays over here.
Welcome back to Trivia. All right, question 2 from Ellis. In 2016, Microsoft acquired what is now the 8th largest social media network in the world. And before you come at me, I know that stat could be read in a bunch of different ways,
also
but
be
I'm
blue in a
calling
bunch
it
of different ways.
the
Monthly
8th
active.
largest social media network in the world
Okay.
with almost 1 billion users.
Yeah.
Which social network is it?
Cool. I already know it.
Microsoft?
Microsoft.
Microsoft's the social network?
Microsoft bought the social network.
Yeah. It's
The movie?
Bing. Bing.
It's
Bing-
called Bingle.
Bing is kind of a social network because you can talk to it now.
We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back. Let's talk Quest 3 a little bit.
Yeah. I
It's
have
out.
a lot of questions.
You want to talk about Quest 3?
Questions.
I really want to talk about it.
I've got the answers. I'm like DJ
Okay.
Khaled. I got
How
all
long have you
the
been
answers.
using
Bing
it for?
AI.
That Bing AI, I've got all the answers. Most of them false.
Lead your
but-
I'm gonna make it up as I go. No, I've mostly used it for 2 days.
Okay.
And I played a lot of random games and experiences on the Quest 3 for 2 days.
Have you done a lot of pass-through
More
stuff?
Beat Saber?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I'll just to give the high level, Quest 3 is like a Quest 2, but
3.
higher resolution, more responsive, wider field of view, and with much better pass-through.
Color.
Color pass-through, which enables mixed reality experiences and also makes setup way better.
Yeah.
So you just put the headset on, pass-through turns on, it's like, all right, draw your area, boom, you're set up, go.
Has auto area drawing too if you want.
Yeah, and that was pretty good, and I just like expanded it a little bit because I was like, I can go past the couch, it's fine. That's the Quest 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like mostly asking these questions based on Quinn posted a video. Did you watch that?
Oh, he did.
No.
So it's like him in this pretty small room and he's in pass through. You can see the mapping of the room, but he's in this program where essentially you can create 3D objects in your space and then you can turn the physics on. So he said in just like a quick setup, when you look at the mapping of the room, it looks very basic, but then he pulls out this like 3D car, turns off the physics. It's like a 3D model of a car, turns off the physics and just starts dropping it. And it's like interacting with every single thing in the room. It's falling on the top of the couch, rolling down the pillows, rolling onto the floor. It's like going onto a shelf, the space between like books and the shelf above it. Like it's mapped all of that out. And the way it's interacting with everything looks super, super impressive.
I was impressed. I could still tell that there were not glitches, but like it wasn't perfect.
Okay.
But that's way better than any headset I've ever used has ever handled objects in the room that I'm in.
Casting shadows and stuff.
Also, I'm like, yeah, I'm watching his video. That's about the quality of the pass through. Like, it's good. It's color. It's not high res. And I guess I'm kind of spoiled because I tried Vision Pro. So I'm like trying to remember that that's absurd what I tried.
Yeah.
But in Vision Pro, I could take my phone out and read my phone and like take notes and type on my phone screen.
Quinn said he thought that it was just passable enough to be able to read his phone.
I could not read my phone.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't good enough to do that. But it was just short of that.
Okay.
So I could like see what screen my phone was on, but I was not about to like type something. Like if you made me type out a tweet on my phone with the headset on, I would not feel comfortable sending it because I don't know what I wrote.
Sounds like a fun game.
But it's still color. You can see the room you're in. There's no crazy like parallax issues. You can walk around. There's absolutely no latency problems to the point where now I'm starting to think like, could I play table tennis with the headset on? I think I could. I think it'll be fine.
Like in pass-through playing non-VR table tennis.
Real table tennis with a real paddle because there's good enough pass-through with low enough latency.
Yeah.
So that's good. I'm still like separating the Quest Pros as being easily the highest resolution, most real-life pass-through I've ever seen.
Wait.
Besides the Vision Pro.
Sorry,
Vision Pro.
what did I say?
Quest Pro.
Oh, delete
Quest
that. I didn't
Pro,
want-
baby, let's go!
Ellis is wearing a Quest Pro at this very moment for the audio listeners. No, the Vision Pro is the best I've ever seen, and that's in a league of its own.
Yeah.
This pass-through, I think, is better than, Quest Pro. Better than Quest Pro.
Better than Quest Pro. I feel like this completely just like cannibalizes the Quest Pro in general, which is something
that's interesting.
Why still when they first announced this, I didn't think it would have any of this because it sounds like it would cannibalize it. I would buy this over the Quest Pro
Apparently
1,000
they
times
weren't
over.
selling very well at all.
Even if they were the same price, I would buy the Quest 3 over the Quest
So I think
I
that's
see.
two different answers. Number one, does it cannibalize Quest Pro? Or number two, would you buy it over the Quest Pro?
Yes.
And I think one of those is obviously true. You should not buy the Quest Pro.
Yeah.
But I still think Quest Pro will have its place just in the fact that it's like meant to be worn all day and it is more comfortable to wear all day.
Really?
Based on all the padding at the back, the way they spread the weight around your head. It's also a little bit
Ellis?
different software.
Wait, this one's supposed to be worn all day and it's comfy?
Yes.
Oh, that's not looking
No,
good for Quest 3.
This is kind of a thought I had, and now I want to ask you about if I can budge in there if we're talking about being comfortable. I'm almost wondering if lighter, cheaper materials in a headset might make more sense
Oh, 100%.
because of how much lighter they are.
Yeah.
Because that thing I did not find very comfortable. I know it has the battery in the back and is like counterbalanced, but like my Quest 2 is so comfortable. Mine is sweat after a while. Like I have absolutely no problems wearing it until the battery just dies.
So I'm going to make a couple of like our observations on the fly without having recently tried Quest 2. But I
think
it
it's very
feels like
similar.
Quest 3 is a little heavier.
Okay.
And balance is almost as important as weight.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of the issues that Apple's going to have to contend with theirs, which is
I wanted
it
to
is
ask you that.
so heavy that it is inevitably going to cause neck fatigue.
Mark
because
Gurman
it's
just
not
had
balanced.
an article about that recently that like
Yeah.
users with testing in Vision Pro after 2 hours are having neck pains
Yeah.
because it's such good material, so high
metal.
quality, and it's all front facing.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is why I said that in the video. Like they use plastic, sure, and it's cheaper and it feels less premium, but they do that for a reason. The Quest 3 feels a little bit heavier than I remember Quest 2 being.
Okay.
But it's not as balanced as Quest Pro because all of the weight is still on the front of your face. And when I take it off, I feel like all the pressure right below my eye and like the weight constantly being at the front of my head. It's not an issue. It's just not as balanced as putting some of the weight behind your head and being able to move around and wear it more.
But do you think the full like soft straps and everything are potentially more? I need to try both of them. I haven't gotten to try the Quest 3
So-
yet. I think it looks more comfortable than the Quest Pro.
So I think what they're finding is there's a new strap on the Quest 3. And I think what they're finding is the more you can spread out the pivot point of like where it anchors to the back of your head, the better. Like Apple has this big old mesh thing. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
And I think that's their version of trying it. The Quest 3 has
Although
like
that's
a...
optional accessory.
Well, no, the
is?
one over the top is optional. He's talking about just
no,
the
no,
band
just the
part
back
on the
piece.
back.
Okay.
Yeah, the back piece. And I think that's where they're trying to like at least get some of the feeling of the weight off the front of your face. And so the Quest has this over the top like band that turns into a Y shape and goes to the back band. And so it kind of is more comfortable because of that. but I still, I'm looked at Ellis real quick. I still think what Ellis is wearing, what Ellis is wearing is more balanced than
eyes.
any of these solutions.
Yeah.
That's a subtle difference between weight and balance.
Okay. So how's the gaming?
So the games, I mean, it's the ecosystem is about as good as it was yesterday.
But
meaning,
you can use hand gestures now.
oh, okay, yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
So the games are still there. Like I played a lot of the old games I'd been playing. Super Hot, Ping Pong. There's a new golf game. It's dope. I think it's called Golf Plus. I don't know. Whatever. It's there. I played it. It's fun actually. But you're right. There's much better hand controls. So the new controllers actually don't have the orb around them. It's just like these disc controller things without the orb, and they track just as well as they ever have without I guess they kind of use like the infrared and the sensors on the front, and even if you totally occlude them with your hand, they seem like they're totally still tracked.
It's the Quest Pro controllers, pretty much.
Yeah.
They look exactly.
They track very, very
similar,
well.
yeah.
You can put those controllers down and use your hands and literally like move menus around and place them in your room with your hands.
Yeah.
You still have to do this weird thing where like you press buttons that aren't there in real life. So you're like pushing through where a keyboard would be and like pushing through where something would be. But if you exaggerate it enough, it works well. Like you can scroll through a menu with your hand by like pushing through and scrolling the menu with your finger.
I'm imagining it's like the overacting of like comedy skits on like
Kinda.
TikTok where you're just sitting there doing this and pressing.
That's
all the
probably what you
buttons,
look
yeah.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it does track your hands real well. You can move the menus around, which by the way are super high resolution. They look great. And you can move around in space, and they stay in space because the room is super well tracked. So the front of the Quest looks different because it has way more sensors facing out, and things track really well. So, yeah, all that works. It's fun.
I think it looks so cool.
It's fun.
It makes me so sad that like Meta is trying to go like so intensely into this metaverse thing, which kind of just like sours it a little bit by trying to make it seem like we're all going to live in this made up world where it just seems like an awesome VR/AR experience system that I really like because I loved the Quest 2. And like, I think that VR is so much more accessible now that we've gotten rid of all the wires and sensors and everything. And we're all like inside of just a headset. You can put it on in your living room super easily. You don't need a whole separate area. It
Yeah.
plugs into a computer. Like
The olden days of Vive.
yeah, I mean, which was so much fun still, but like the fact that now, like when my mom comes over and visits, she can just throw on the Quest 2 and play Beat Saber, and she's obsessed with it and does it every single time. So like, I think this is awesome. I think $500 is still pretty reasonable if you're looking at other consoles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But just the entire thing just felt way too on this like, can't you wait to see your friends with no legs from across the country? It's just like I think it's like a little bit soured, but I think the Quest 3 looks awesome. I can't wait to use it.
yeah, it's pretty awesome.
It's a pretty different device than the Vision Pro, so it's kind of hard to compare them. But it is adding like a lot more of the mixed reality features, which the Vision Pro is more oriented towards.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can get it for $500 instead of $3,500 is a pretty big upsell.
Yeah,
It's like I know that Apple's always going to have the ecosystem and they're going to have a lot of things fine-tuned, but a sixth of the price is
Yeah.
a crazy difference. And also, like, I still wonder if the Quest 3 might be more comfortable than the Vision Pro because of how heavy it is.
what if I told you that
And you can use your own battery bank, probably.
Probably. What if I told you that in 4 years there will be a cheaper Apple Vision headset, non-Pro,
What's cheaper? Cheaper than $3,000 is pretty easy.
700. Let's say if I say 700, I'm just
700?
making up $700. And the advantage to that one will be obviously the ecosystem stuff and all of the things that Apple learns from their $3,500 experience. Maybe that's better optics, better screens.
But then Meta has the Quest 5 or 6 at that point that they've also learned.
That's a
from
great point.
Actual user
I do think like
experience.
Meta has a big step forward on all of this, just like they've been doing this for so long.
Which I think that's true, but then Apple just stepped in and made the best pass-through I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, at a price point that's not really consumer focused.
Yeah.
It's
Like, Meta
it's
might be
so
able to
hard to
make that if
compare.
they had
But like if I
unlimited
want
money.
my $700 headset to learn from any other headset, I definitely want it to learn from Apple's. You know?
I guess I don't know enough about the internals and who's learning what, and can I learn something from something that has this like insane state of the art whatever, and then make it into with like consumer based off the shelf products that can be sold for way cheaper. Or Apple's also $1 trillion company, and maybe they just take a loss on the cheap version later. There's a lot of variables. I don't know where exactly it's going to go, but yeah, there'll be more Quests by the time that comes out. I have no idea. It's a weird
I'm
world.
with you that it's like a great gift right now. It is an awesome first VR headset because of how well the mixed reality stuff makes like setup super easy. It makes it way more natural to just have like the menu floating in the room you're in instead of being in like a virtual world immediately. I think it makes people more comfortable being able to see the room around them.
Point, yeah.
I think it's a great first headset for a lot of people because of that, how well it works.
Yeah.
So
I think it's interesting that they're really pivoting now into mixed reality stuff though. Like that's it's funny. It feels very reactive to me because I think that when the Quest has been built over the last amount of years, back when it was like the Oculus Rift, it sort of felt like they were always very focused on gaming and being in a fully virtual environment. I mean, that's the whole reason that Facebook made Horizon Worlds, and they made your avatars and all these things. And they were like, yeah, we're going to be all virtual, completely virtual, totally virtual. And then Apple did the Vision Pro, and then now the new Quest is like, this is now more pass-through.
I would fight back though, because the Quest Pro was out before the Vision Pro, and that was like all AR pass-through stuff.
But the pass-through was not nearly as good.
Just because it's not as good doesn't mean they reacted to it.
No,
though.
it's
like
Is it
the
all
Vision
AR
Pro.
pass-through
The
stuff?
Vision Pro was like
I
super
feel like it had
pass-through stuff.
more.
Look, as someone who has
guess that's fair.
used the AR part of the Vision Pro now for like since it came out,
Quest Pro.
It is very confusing
okay.
between
We've
Vision
all
Pro
done
and
it. We've all
just
done
like
Pro.
when you were talking about like experience, like the Quest Pro is like borderline unusable, right? As a AR device, like literally.
I'm not here saying it's better than the Vision Pro.
No, I know,
Okay.
but just like you literally like I'm looking right at a computer screen and I cannot see anything on
Yeah.
it. Like I can't make out any of your faces right now. Everything is shaking violently as we speak.
I'm saying their focus was on that before Apple released the Vision Pro.
Right.
I think it's just,
Right.
it was their focus, and that's what they tried to do, but it also was their version 1, and it turned out that they needed more learnings to do. And that, and
For
Quest
sure,
3,
yeah.
honestly, Quest 3 is a better Quest Pro than the Quest Pro in a lot of ways.
And that's another.
Which is-
That's why I say it's cannibalizing.
yeah,
it.
that's totally fair.
That's what I feel like too.
They've definitely
Why would you
learned-
ever? When you said before, like they're kind of separate on like, would you buy it and does it have its place? Its place is to rip off a bunch of enterprises to pay way too much for it,
and then to
like,
learn from it to build a better thing.
maybe, but
Yeah.
Quest 3. Why would you ever buy Quest Pro? If
It
Quest
feels
3
like
is out?
Quest Pro walked, so Quest 3 could jog.
it feels like Tesla Roadster to Tesla Model S to Tesla Model 3.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. They
Like you should never buy a Tesla Roadster, the original Tesla Roadster today. But it was a $100,000 sports car,
at one time.
and now we have a Model 3.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
It happened. So that's
Yeah.
that's Quest 3. I'm working on putting together a full review of it so you guys can see all my thoughts and all my comparisons as someone who has tried some of the crazy things that Apple put out, and also someone who can reference old Quest stuff as well. But we also want to talk about some Adobe stuff.
Yeah.
I'll let you dive into the Adobe. Where did you go?
I went to Adobe Max, which is their annual, it's not really a developer conference. It's more of like here's all our new features, and we're going to have like classes and get a bunch of creators who've been using these features for a while to teach you how to use it, and just a bunch of creative people to like come together and like meet each other and talk about their processes and all this stuff. There's a few reasons I wanted to go. One, because the last couple of years, Adobe has announced a lot of like really crazy AI features at Adobe
sure.
Max.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting space for me because we mostly use Final Cut, but Premiere is getting more and more like they're plugging in AI features really fast.
Are they?
Yeah.
Interesting.
A lot of interesting AI features.
Okay, because I know Photoshop is doing a lot of that
Yes.
stuff.
Premiere is getting kind of crazy.
I'm very interested in Premiere things
yeah.
that they're doing.
So the first half of the keynote was kind of felt like a bunch of adults just making collages for an hour because they announced Firefly, Fire. Well, no, sorry, they didn't announce Firefly. They just like showed the power of Firefly. And for those that don't know, Firefly is their version of DALL-E.
Yeah.
And I have this hot take that both AI image generation and also AI chatbots are not even remotely close to the actual useful things that we're going to do with AI. It's just that they're the first things that came out to the public that felt flashy and like a party trick that people could look at and say, wow, that's better than everything that we have currently.
Almost like the gimmick version of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But because they were the first things that got released and because they're the things that make investors go, wow, that's really cool. Companies are investing really heavily on trying to make this technology better than everybody else. So there's sort of this race to the bottom. So you got Google making AI and image generation. You got Adobe. You got like all these people. So the first half of the keynote was just them being like, look, I can create a garden and then put a fox in it. And then I can put a butterfly in front of the fox. And wow, look at my piece of art. And I would say to that, does that make you happy? Because I think that a lot of art, a lot of doing art and making art has to do with how you feel about what you made and like if you feel personal gratification from making it, because art is subjective.
Oh, it's philosophy. We're getting to philosophy immediately.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
No, I feel I'm with you on that. Like the AI tools, I've had a lot of these conversations.
Yeah.
The AI tools like lower the barrier to making better things, but then it's also less effort, so it feels like it's technically not as good. It's weird.
I think there are ways you can like separate it. If there's just like like rotoscoping, you know what rotoscoping is? Mm-hmm. For people that don't know, in movies, if you want to like cut out a character so that you can like change the background, you have to do this thing called rotoscoping, where you basically like pick little points all around the character, frame by frame, and cut them out so that you can cut out the background. And I have multiple friends who like work at studios, and when you're an intern at one of these studios, the thing that they make you do for like 6 months is just do rotoscoping because it's the worst job no one wants to do. Now they have AI rotoscoping tools where you press a button and for the entire 30-second clip, it's all rotoscoped.
Yeah,
And it's
Just
like
super tedious work.
super
Like,
tedious work.
Yeah.
So that's not a thing that's like, I'm going to be creative here. It's more just like, no one wants to do this, and I'm all for that. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so that was the first half of the keynote, was just them showing, like reminding people that Firefly exists.
Right.
But then they expanded Firefly. So they expanded it to Firefly vectors. So now you can make vector art with Firefly, which vector art is like in Illustrator. It's got all the little points that are completely editable.
Yeah.
So it's like a mapped out version. It's like you drew it by hand. And that's really interesting because it's like generating images, but you can manipulate them to a very, very high fine degree.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, vector also generally means, since it has those points, is it's scalable like
Infinitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's
why
like such
Illustrator's
an
so
important thing. Yeah.
That's what people use Illustrator for, is because you can scale it infinitely.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. They introduced Illustrator Web, which is a lot simpler version of Illustrator that is on the internet.
Oh.
I really wish they would do this for After Effects, because After Effects is like the most complicated looking program.
If we get to the
you've ever
point where
seen.
you have in-browser After Effects, we're
That's
on
coming,
another.
dude.
That's
bet you
wild
next
that it will.
year.
No, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
It's just really crazy to think about.
Yeah,
Wait, can we clarify real quick? These are in beta still, right?
they're out now.
In beta though.
I think they're all in beta. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I
okay.
think they're all.
But,
out
like, you
now,
can
though.
use it.
You can use it now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Everything dropped yesterday. Okay, Premiere. So they now have text-based editing Premiere. So every time you pull clips in, it automatically transcribes it.
Okay.
And then you can like highlight a part of text and click a button, and it'll drop the clip of just that text into the timeline.
Whoa.
So if you were sitting in for an interview or something and you knew everything that it was said already, and you're like, oh yeah, he said that twice, he said it better the second time, highlight, drop in, drops it in. Or if you have multicam, you can cut really easily between all of that really fast.
Or like, let's say if
Wait.
you're a YouTuber with an A roll.
yeah, with A-roll.
And then then you hit your take, and then you say like use that take, and then you search that in the text space later,
Yeah.
and then highlight
Yes.
the take before.
Yeah. And it automatically
That
drops
would be
it in.
sick.
They have an and ah detector, a filler word detector.
I could use that.
It's a button that you press and it detects all the filler words in the whole thing, and you can just delete them all.
Oh, I high key need that.
Yeah, they don't have they didn't have any sort of like morph cut thing, so it was kind of a little
just jump cuts
kinda
every
a little
time.
jumpy.
My
That would be
sentences
tough.
would just be like a caveman, like trying to talk.
You look like a Phil DeFranco video.
Right.
It's like cut.
If they had like I'm sure that they'll add this like an automatic like morph cut type thing to make it work a little bit better. That'd be cool. But yeah, that was pretty interesting.
Wait, are you gonna teach Adobe AI when it cuts out like ums and stuff to jump cut, push in, like
Yeah.
punch in, like it's
J-cut.
just straight YouTube J-cut?
Yeah, it'd be incredible.
They made a background noise thing that I alluded to earlier
Right.
that is almost exactly like the Pixel one. And I believe that this is all transformer based because it's all pattern matching.
Because it's interesting. Final Cut has a built-in noise reduction tool for any audio track.
Yeah.
And I wonder the difference between, not just how it works, but how effective that one would be versus the one that's built in.
I think this one would be way better because it's
Interesting.
transformer based.
I want to try.
Yeah. So it seemed like it worked really well. They had this clip of this woman talking at some event and it was really windy and there was kid noise. They press one button, it gives you a slider, but it like enhanced this woman's voice who was like talking at this park. It made it a lot more full. It got rid of all the wind noise, all the kid noise. It was like a one button thing. It seems very useful. I was thinking about Ellis versus AI video a lot during this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seemed really helpful.
Yeah.
They also said they're working on text to video and image to video. So they showed a couple of examples where like you could type in some text and it would just generate a video based on that text. They also showed a sample where they dropped in a photo of an elephant and they said, turn this into a video. And then they played like a 10-second clip of that elephant like walking around.
Yeah, what was it doing? Because I'm imagining it just being like
It was kind of like swaying.
that kind of warpy, like
It wasn't
make an
too
image look
bad.
3D. Okay.
It wasn't too bad. It was sort of like kind of swaying back and forth. But
Okay.
it looked like a pretty convincing video clip. Oh, God. Yeah, we're getting into some weird territory.
I can't wait till one of them's like, this is how we can do it, and types in Will Smith eating spaghetti, and it actually does it correctly, and then we compare. Yeah.
That's the benchmark for all the future tools. Is that video.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is this going to work typically on device, or is it going to be some sort of cloud-based
I
thing?
would bet it's cloud. It's probably cloud.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like using Premiere just to analyze a
No,
couple
and
frames takes forever.
Our computers
on
are not
computers.
like they're not made for this type of processing
Yeah.
anyway. So I'm sure it's cloud based. I think everything that they're doing is trying to do more ecosystem lock in, just get you tighter into the Adobe suite.
Yeah.
More subscriptions.
Yeah, more subscriptions. Yeah, but the main reason I actually went to Adobe Max was not for this. It was because I'm working on a video for the studio channel for like later this month, which I'm glad that I finally get to say. Sneak peek, I'm working on a video about this. But about this thing called the Content Authenticity Initiative, which is a group of companies, which is a ton of companies. They have like 2,000 people in it now that are working on this encrypted metadata that basically will show you every asset that was used in that piece of content that you made. And it'll give you like a tree of like every asset that was combined to make a piece of content and how those individual assets were changed. So if you have something in Photoshop, like a photo in Photoshop, and you make a bunch of adjustments to it, when you export it, if you have this content authenticity thing switched on, it will write that into this encrypted metadata that moves with the image.
Okay.
And it'll have this little content credentials thing in the corner that lets you know like, hey, this is legit. You can trace it. It's an open source thing. You can like put it in the like in this web-based tool on the internet and see all of the changes that have been made to it. And it's not necessarily, I think that people keep getting this wrong. Like, it's not necessarily that they're using this to try to catch bad actors. They're using it to prove the transparency of what you're doing. So, for example, you could use this on video. Theoretically, if YouTube implemented this kind of thing, if say Final Cut had a content authenticity toggle that you could turn on, it would create this encrypted metadata that is attached to your video. When that goes onto YouTube, there'd be a little verified this is directly from Marquez thing, shows it was made by Marquez Brownlee on his computer using Final Cut using these specs. And so then if someone else like uploaded your video in full to YouTube or whatever, then even if the system didn't catch it, it wouldn't have the content credentials thing on it, and so it would be obvious which one was real.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's a interesting thing. I think most people think that they're doing it to try to catch AI stuff.
Deep fakes.
Yeah, and Adobe and Microsoft just signed on to this too. Anything that's generated through Adobe, through like Firefly or through DALL-E 3, is going to have content credentials automatically on. So you'll always know, like, this was a piece of content that was AI generated, or this is a piece of content that was used to create other content that was like merged with other content. And it's cool because when you drop a piece of content into this tool online, you can literally see all the different things that were attached to it.
Yeah.
And so one of the ideas too is that a bunch of camera manufacturers have signed on to this. So like Leica and Nikon and a bunch of these companies, and the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and Twitter signed on to this before Elon bought it. So theoretically they're on it.
Okay.
But the idea is that in a few years, theoretically, the New York Times will say all of our photographers are going to use content authenticity initiative enabled cameras that have this encrypted metadata on it. So when we upload to our website or upload to social media, it says which journalist shot the photo, if it's this transparency thing to see if it's been modified at all.
Yeah.
Because there have been a couple news sites recently that have uploaded unknowingly AI generated imaging, and that's becoming a huge problem really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's good to see that from both sides. It's kind of funny. They go on one hand from being like, look at all these tools to manipulate your images.
I know.
And then on the other end, they're like, but also you really want to know what's been
Yeah,
manipulated.
I think you
don't
have to. You have to have
Yeah.
the like.
Good
Our
cop,
stuff
bad
could
cop.
really screw some stuff up, so we also need to find out how to not screw
There's
it up.
a big irony in that. It's sort of like OpenAI starting this all and then being like, we really need regulation around the stuff that we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that it's one of those things where it's like people are going to do this no matter what. And so if you're part of the figuring out what's AI generated and what's not, then at least you're helping it. It's an open source thing. So Adobe did help create the standard, but they don't own the standard. The Content Authenticity Initiative runs the standard, which has partners from like all throughout the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just find it pretty interesting, and I want to make a fuller video on this. So I went to Adobe Max and I interviewed the guy that invented the standard.
Okay.
So I just wanted to get his take on it and
Yeah.
build out the video more fully.
I think I kind of see it the same way. Like, this is going to happen whether we like it or not. Like, technology is just improving so rapidly in this direction that we might as well get ahead of the whole ethics part because
Yeah.
we're getting there.
Yeah.
We have
Or
to be there.
There's a lot of money to be made in creating the problem and solving the problem. You get both sides of it.
That
I mean,
is
let's be
another way
real.
of
It's
looking at
money.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Us the poison and serve us the antidotes. Yeah.
Adobe.
Yeah. So, also, they did use one more thing at the end of the keynote. They
Okay.
literally said, but we do have one more thing. And I was like, you guys are really going to do that?
Iconic, but for a different group of people.
I know.
Interesting.
And nobody reacted to it. And then he said, you can clap now.
Nice. So he used the other
On stage,
straight references. Yeah.
that's the kiss of death for a presentation when you go, you can clap. That's tough.
But the one more thing was that they announced Firefly 2. So it's basically a DALL-E 3 competitor.
Okay.
Everything is way more realistic, a lot better than the first one. It looks like it's directly competing with DALL-E 3.
Moving so fast.
Yeah, I know. I think it feels like all of these companies are moving at the same pace, and then it's just like who's going to make the first strike, and then everyone else immediately follows afterwards.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you have access to Firefly if you just have an Adobe subscription. So there's going to be a lot of stuff out there. It was a very exhausting, very fast paced, but very fruitful 24 hours. I think it's going to help my video a lot. So,
Sweet.
Fascinating.
yeah.
Stay tuned for that video.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of generative.
.io channel.
lot of AI.
Subscribes.
A lot to talk about. We should, of course,
All right, trivia.
finish it up with trivia.
Trivia. Okay, so the score, real quick. Marquez with 10. Andrew with 2, 3, carry the 5.
Nice.
5. Andrew has 5.
Not bad.
David with 9. All right. First question. I'm just gonna get straight to it. Garrett Camp also co-founded another popular app/search engine that wasn't Uber. What was it called? The logo was an orange SU.
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 Oh, my pen barely works.
Andrew just gave up. You're doing great, sweetie.
My pen barely works.
I just read what Marquez wrote.
All right. Flip 'em and read. What do you got?
I just wrote FU.
Marquez and I.
No, I'm joking.
Marquez and I.
How does this keep happening?
Totally the same person. We both wrote super user.
Yeah.
Wrong.
I totally thought Marquez wrote Super Uber. That
would've been
first
way
it was
better.
Uber, then Super Uber.
He's like, I've got
That
it.
would have been so good. It was Stumble Upon.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dude, I legit thought maybe it's Stumble Upon, but then you said it's search engine.
That's why I said don't get hung up on that, because technically it's a search engine.
No.
I thought
Stumble
Stumble
Upon?
I stumble upon's the one
Like
where you just went to
Foursquare?
it and it gave you a random
Man.
page out of nowhere,
I
just
legit
without you
thought
putting.
about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was like also like Google Plus. Like every page had a. God, I can't remember the names of these.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm really sad I didn't remember
I had that thought.
I know. That's why I gave you guys the logo, because I was like, hopefully that helps
I
them. And
somehow did not even connect the SU and Stumble Upon because I thought earlier Stumble Upon was kind of cool, and I
Yeah.
didn't even think
that was like
about
low key one of my favorite like
Oh,
apps
yeah.
and
Reddit?
services. It was so
Maybe
great.
2009.
Yeah.
Oh, that Reddit website?
What's that?
I'm trying to the like
Fuck
mechanics of Stumble Upon were interesting at the time.
Don't you just go to the site and it sends
Yeah.
you to a random
And then
site?
there's like
Yeah,
a,
but
a
then-
refresh button pretty much
Oh,
that
you're
sends
right.
you to
I guess
another
it
one.
is a search engine.
But then there was also. Never
I think
mind.
it.
I'm just
I think it also later turned into because they realized they couldn't capitalize a
Right.
bunch on just total. Then I do believe it turned into like
Whatever
more
thing was
ways
lowercase.
of searching through.
Question number 2.
I can hear you writing.
Can you hear the words that I'm writing?
Maybe.
Question number 2.
I wish.
In 2016, Microsoft acquired what is now the 8th largest social network in the world.
I'm gonna name the top 8.
With
Can I borrow that?
almost 1 billion users, which social network is it?
Boom, ba-dum.
8 largest social networks.
Facebook. Threads.
Oh, yeah, I should have said this is as of July 2023, so I don't think Threads was out when Statista compiled this list.
Oh. Is Threads technically in the top 8?
I
guess it would be. They passed 100 million users in 5 days.
Yeah, I guess I
3, 4, 5, 6. Damn.
don't know what other things are considered social media platforms.
It would take me a while to get
Stumble
the top 8.
upon.
Reddit. That Reddit website. LinkedIn.
We all said LinkedIn.
And you're all right.
No.
And
I
they
got
say
that last minute.
Ellis questions are hard.
At the top of the podcast,
That was a good
didn't
one.
I like just say that out loud? Like when Microsoft acquired LinkedIn and whatever.
we
We'll do
talked
it-
about the purchase price for sure.
Oh.
Wait, do you have the top? You said 8.
I have the top 8 right here. Number 1.
Can I try to name them all?
Threads.
in order?
I might not be in order. I won't be in order,
Okay.
but I think I'll get all 8
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
or 7.
Carry the
Carry the
four.
one.
So LinkedIn is
I have
8.
the top 10 in front of me.
Okay,
So MySpace as well.
Facebook.
Facebook's on there, number 1.
3.3 billion mouse.
Okay, Instagram,
Instagram is number 1, 2, 3, 4.
Twitter,
Twitter is not on here.
Yeah.
X.
Yeah.
Okay.
X is not on here.
small.
Wait, what? Oh,
No, it's not. They have a really small user base.
I knew they did, but I still
Like
thought it would have been top
350
10.
million. Okay.
Yeah, that's not going to cut it. here.
Snapchat.
Snapchat is number 10.
Okay.
Snapchat's
WeChat.
over X.
WeChat.
WeChat is on here number 5.
Number 1.
Whoa.
Should
Okay.
be number 1.
Then I get into the ones that are not as popular here. Like, is Orkut still popular?
Never heard of that.
What the hell?
It
is
was really
that?
popular
I'm just
in
gonna-
South America a
Orkut?
couple years ago, and I didn't know if it was popular. It's clearly not.
About Line.
Statista, Line is not on here. Statista includes 2 popular video platforms.
So YouTube and
Vimeo.
No.
No way.
no, I almost said
No.
TikTok is probably
David!
TikTok.com
TikTok, yes.
and YouTube.com.
Yes, that's right.
And that leaves 2 more.
Yes. There's
Okay.
one, you know what? There's one on here that I They're counting Facebook Messenger as a separate.
Because if you count
platform.
It's a
WeChat,
separate app.
then you would also count WhatsApp.
WhatsApp is indeed on here.
Okay.
What's
think
up with that?
Indeed's on there.
Indeed is not on here. The,
free ad reads.
the two that you did not get,
Can't even crack top 10. We're not-
one of them is only available in China. It's called Douyin.
Okay.
Right? That's the Tencent. Someone look that up for me.
They should just merge that with WeChat.
What? Douyin's not a Meta property. Oh, WeChat.
WeChat, no WhatsApp.
Well, that wasn't helpful. We just Googled Douyin, and of course the Google results are in Chinese. So.
Yeah, it's not going to help.
The other one is not Chinese. It's Telegram with 700 million users. Go.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I think number 11 is mkbhd.com.
Google Plus.
Anyway, yeah, Google Plus, RIP, Orchid, RIP, Stumble Upon, RIP,
Dude.
Urban Spoon.
RIP,
Maybe.
Super
it might still be
User,
there.
RIP. But hey, we got a lot of AI stuff coming up, so that's pretty cool. And that was all in our podcast today. But that's been it for this week, this episode. I don't even know what y'all are looking at over there. I'm not even gonna...
Stumble upon that.
Stumble upon it. It tried to make him download some weird app.
Oh, I'm glad Stumble Upon
I think it's called Mix.
kind
now.
of
They should make
exists. But
Stumble Upon, where it's just like
Shark Tank
close-ups
idea.
of dudes' faces that were just shaved.
Shark Tank idea. Anyway, glad you joined us for this week. Hope you join us next week. Definitely talk to you
After
later.
that one, I hope you stay with us too.
Bye.
Waveform is produced by Adam Molina and Ellis Rovin. We're partnered with Vox Media Podcast Network, and our intro-outro music was created by Vane Sill.
I'm using the generative wallpapers, and it's frowny face and moons
Why?
because they kind of.
Did you ask it to be that?
They kind
No, I randomized it.
Oh, frownies
Kind
is
of
kind
like
of
this.
sad.
Wait, do you get to
vibe.
type things in, or does it
No,
just do it?
it's
Oh,
just
that
emojis. It's random. It's frowny faces, moons, and small happy faces.
Can you, do you get to pick the emojis?
No, you can.
You can.
You can.
Can you do a hot dog one?
Sure.
Oh, now we're talking.
Glizzy wallpaper.
Glizzy.
A glizzy and a robot.
And then you could do what pattern do we want?
Oh, wait. How is this AI if you're just picking all
well,
of
there's
it?
a randomize option.
Oh, yeah, do
for
randomize.
patterns. Oh no, it changed the emoji.
It's the place that it
Okay,
puts
I
the
won't take it.
emojis that is AI generated.
There's nothing AI generated about
But you don't know where the glizzy is going to go. It can be anywhere.
David's like, pick this, pick that too. Okay, what do we want for this? Okay, this. I was like, there's nothing AI. David has made every decision that's doing this.
Seems like it's your intelligence, not artificial intelligence.